the Denby Showgram in Maypen, Clarendon. Hear about the ministry's latest initiatives, programs, and innovations that are strengthening agriculture, supporting farmers, and enhancing food security across the island. Don't miss this exclusive broadcast, Saturday, August 1 at 11 a.m., live from the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Mining at Denby. Catch this and so much more on our YouTube channel, NNN Radio Live, and keep your dials locked to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Turn up the heat with Hot Listing, Nationwide 90 FM's new on-air and online classifieds feature. If you have a car for sale, room for rent, or yard sale come up. If you look at work or need stuff. If you provide a service, make it a Hot Listing, Nationwide 90 FM's new on-air and online classified segment. Your listing plays again and again. From morning till evening. You sing it, we play it. You say it once, Jamaica hears it all day, every hour. Contact our sales team now at 876-630-1210 or sales at nationwidenewsnetwork.com. Hot Listings on Nationwide 90 FM, a new revolution in media. Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Buy more for less this summer, from cookware to curtains, comforters, and more. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Label Crafts Jamaica Limited offers exceptional finishes that will make your product extraordinary at an affordable cost. The temperature by Label Crafts Jamaica Limited, the #1 choice for label printing, is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robeanne Williams in Nationwide News. At this hour, Water Minister warns of potential prohibition orders as drought worsens.
As of August 10th, if the situation has not changed, if the Met Service's evaluation of rainfall in July is as we suspect, prohibition orders will come into effect.
Met Service says island continues to see below normal rainfall over the past 2 months. Industry Minister blames hurricanes and increased fuel prices for widening trade gap. Data Protection Act unlikely to see full enforcement for another 2 years. Senior Parish Judge Dion Gallimore Rose has died. In news from the rest of the world, in Guyana, Commission of Inquiry set up to investigate the tragic capsizing of the MV Barima. Spain is grappling with a fresh migrant surge from North Africa. In sports, 2 of the world's biggest football confederations reject FIFA privatization proposal. And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, Water Minister Matthew Samuda is warning that the next few months will be dry as a result of reduced rainfall.
You will have a rough 3-month period now with the expected reduced rainfall. And it is possible you could go through one more drought, beginning February to April of next year, as is normal.
You'll hear more from the ministry's media briefing on drought conditions in the country. In the nation's business at 6:25, we'll bring you a paid rebroadcast of an address by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness at the official naming ceremony of the Paul Bogle Highway. And at 7, it's the comments section. This evening, they're asking, if you could be a government minister, which ministry would you choose? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90 FM. All these and more as we take you home on air, Nationwide 90 FM, this Thursday afternoon. It's Thursday, July 30, 2026.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Prohibition orders could take effect across the island if drought conditions do not improve by August 10 this year. That's the word from Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change, Matthew Samuda. He made the disclosure at a media briefing on the ongoing drought conditions held at the ministry's headquarters in Kingston on Thursday. Shalois Michael reports.
Drought conditions have worsened across the island due to soaring temperatures and minimal rainfall. As a result of the ongoing dry period, water levels at two of the country's major reservoirs continue to decline. This has forced the National Water Commission, NWC, to impose several water restrictions across the corporate area. Water Minister Matthew Samuda says if the dry spell doesn't ease by early August, stringent measures will be enforced.
As at August 10th, if the situation has not changed, meaning if the Met Service's evaluation of rainfall in July is as we suspect, that we had continued declines in rainfall, and if the forecast for the rolling 3-month forecast has not changed or has worsened, prohibition orders will come into effect. Prohibition orders speak to specifically irrigation and watering of gardens, lawns, grounds and farms, filling or supplying of pools and other things for domestic services. Washing of cars would be prohibited, watering and washing of roadways, and any purpose that would require unusual or non-essential use of water.
The minister says these orders are an effort to conserve water ahead of the upcoming school term. He adds that the government could be facing an estimated $500 million in drought mitigation costs if the dry conditions continue in the coming months.
As at August 10th, if the situation prolongs for 3 months, it is estimated that the cost of drought response will be in the range of $500 million. How that is to be allocated if the situation warrants it will be approximately $100 million of trucking monthly. That would be split evenly between the NWC, who would service critical infrastructure including hospitals, health centers, schools, police stations, etc. It would be split between members of parliament managing areas within their constituency that have particular elevations, so may have pressure issues or have other issues in terms of getting water supply to them, and would be supplemented by the parish councils working outside of the utility footprint. We are in preparation to deploy that capital starting on August 10th if the situation holds as is.
Samuda notes that other mitigation efforts are being considered to lessen the impact of the dry period.
There's another step that we'll be taking to significantly improve drought response this year over previous years. And that step is the immediate construction of an additional 30 loading bays in proximity to wells. Now, what this does, when you have a loading bay in Discover Bay and a loading bay in St. Anne's Bay and you have a challenge in Brownstown, transport time is simply too long and it reduces the amount of trucking that a trucker can do or a single unit can do. So putting in additional loading bays and increasing the hours, allowing for trucks to be loaded overnight to facilitate early morning deliveries, we believe will significantly reduce the impact.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Majority of Jamaica's 14 parishes have experienced below normal rainfall over the past 2 months. Principal Director at the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, Evan Thompson, gave the update at a media briefing on Thursday.
At the end of that period, we recognized that we had 10 of our 13 parishes. I'm saying 13 because Kingston and St. Andrew is considered one parish in this respect, and they all received rainfall in varying degrees during the month of June. 10 of 13 actually were experiencing below normal rainfall. So the month of June, more of the rainfall amounts were seen toward the eastern end of the island, parts of Portland and getting into northern parts of St. Thomas, and that is in comparison to what we see on our general mean rainfall image, where it's lots more yellows and oranges that we would normally experience at this time of the year.
Thompson noted that at least 4 parishes are currently experiencing drought conditions.
the drought conditions are being experienced in just 4 of our parishes so far, and this is at the end of June, I must remind you. St. Elizabeth, St. James, St. Anne, and St. Mary were the parishes that were determined to be experiencing drought condition. Manchester and St. Catherine were both basically on the borderline in that they were just about moving toward drought conditions. So it's most likely that having not experienced significant rainfall during the month of July, that situation would have been worsened.
Evan Thompson, Principal Director at the Meteorological Service of Jamaica.
Industry, Investment and Commerce Minister Senator Aubin Hill says the fallout from both Hurricanes Beryl and Melissa, coupled with rising fuel prices, has led to the widening of Jamaica's trade gap. The minister was reacting to the latest data from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, which show that the country's trade gap has widened in the first 4 months of the year. Mahiri Stewart has that story.
Statin says total import spending between January and April came in at $2.5 billion. Export earnings over the same 4 months totaled $547.4 million. That's roughly $4.50 going out on imports for every dollar coming in from exports. The Industry, Investment and Commerce Minister, Senator Aubin Hill, blames the widening trade gap on 2024's Hurricane Beryl and the Category 5 Hurricane Melissa that struck last October.
Both were very, very powerful exogenous environmental events, both affecting agriculture production and agro-processing especially, as well as normal production of other products, and had significant negative effects on the mining sector.
Minister Hill says the country's import bill has ballooned following Hurricane Melissa and the rising global fuel cost. He says more has to be imported to revive local production and rebuild the sections of the country hit by Hurricane Melissa.
Every time there is a significant dip in agriculture or mining, the GDP growth rate and or particularly exports will record an almost exact proportional dip. We are recovering from the effects of Melissa and also addressing the feed-through cost of increased oil prices given the wars in the Middle East and Ukraine. Because of the reduction in local production, we've had to import significantly more consumer items and, more recently, intermediate materials as we restore productive activities in the country.
The minister believes the work of the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, will help stabilize the economy and, in turn, fix the trade gap.
The economy is recovering. We expect, of course, once NARA begins to roll out the projects that Cabinet has approved for them to do, you're going to see significant money coming into the economy. Much of that will be operating at a low level in terms of transport, in terms of people finding food and presenting food to workers, and also the fact that right now, even before NARA, there's a great deal of construction going on, and as construction recovers and farming recovers, we would expect the import-export balance to come back to some closer normality.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Information Commissioner Celia Barclay says it will take approximately 2 more years before the Data Protection Act becomes fully enforceable. Barclay gave the timeline during a sitting of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee PAC meeting earlier this week.
What would be if you look at your goal as to getting this done, what would that time frame be?
At this point in time, I would have to say realistically approximately 2 years.
Okay.
Anything less than that would be quite a challenge given the current state, not just of the office, but also of the other interested parties that would have to play a role.
Okay.
Jamaica's Data Protection Act was passed in Parliament in June 2020 and became fully effective on December 1, 2023. It's faced numerous delays to full implementation due to staffing concerns at the Office of the Information Commissioner, which has been charged with enforcement under the legislation, and the readiness of various data controllers and processors. However, Barclay says there's still significant work to be done before the law itself can be properly enforceable.
The enforcement of any legislation requires, first and foremost, the act of bringing the relevant sections into effect. That is what I would call the easy part. The reality is, for enforcement to be effective, effective, then you need to have the necessary frameworks in place for you to carry it out. And so there is an enablement and an empowerment that needs to take place with respect to all the parties, all the participants within the regime. So as it relates to the OIC, definitely there is some amount of work that needs to be done for us to be in a position to fully and properly exercise those powers.
Celia Barclay, Information Commissioner.
Minister of Finance Fayval Williams says the government is committed to seeing its set-aside arrangements for MSMEs is rolled out this calendar year. The minister gave the assurance as part of her endorsement of the government's upgraded GOJ electronic procurement system, GoJEP 2.0, on Thursday.
It cuts duplicate paperwork for government staff, and it collects far better data on how long procurements take, how much competition is there, and how well our small business set-asides are working. Right, Javel? We're going to be able to know if our small businesses and medium-sized businesses are accessing the portal and how they're doing in terms of their procurement. And that set-aside, let me just pause to be very clear, is something we are serious about bringing into being this calendar year.
The Government of Jamaica set-aside arrangement refers to the Public Procurement Set-asides Order, which reserves 20% of government procurement contracts for local micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs. The order has been under consideration since 2019, with implementation taking place just this year. Minister Williams described it as a game changer for the MSMEs, who will now have easier access to government procurement, which makes up nearly 13% of gross domestic product.
Each year, the government of Jamaica spends roughly US $3 billion. Translated into Jamaican dollars, that's about 470 billion, depending on the currency at any point in time. And this procures goods, services, and works from the private sector. This is close to, I think now, about 13% of our GDP, and yet of that enormous sum, only about 1% reaches our micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. And that imbalance is exactly what we are determined to correct, so that more Jamaican businesses can share in the billions that government spends each year, particularly as we rebuild in the wake of Hurricane Melissa.
Fayval Williams, Minister of Finance and the Public Service.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
It's IQ Optical's sizzling summer sale. For this month only, get 50% off lenses when you purchase a frame. Kids get free lenses with a purchase of a frame. Make the intelligent choice with IQ Optical. Conditions apply. The time by IQ Optical is
5:16.
Termites, rodents, or birds infesting your home or office? Call Rentokil Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest assessment island-wide. The temperature brought to you by Rentokil Initial is...
It's 32 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
Ray and nephew, yo, this is the Genius. Telling you that Denby 2026 just leveled up this year. July 31st to August 2nd, just make sure you forward to the Ray Culture Yard at the Denby Agricultural Show in Maypen, Clarendon. So you know the vibes, we're going to have some Ray and Nephew cocktails and celebrate the culture all weekend long. Pull up with your crew, play some exciting games and create some new memories. Ray and Nephew, a full with culture, and we'll see you at the Ray Culture Yard at Denby Showground. Must be 18 years or older to enter. Denby, Ray Culture Yard.
Continuing the news, the Jamaican judiciary is mourning senior parish judge Dion Gallimore Rose, who died on Thursday morning. She was 60 years old. Judge Gallimore Rose presided over the Western Regional Family Court, which serves Westmoreland, Hanover, and St. James. She had held the post of senior parish judge since 2017 and was still serving at the time of her death. Her career in the law spanned more than 3 decades. She started out in 1989 as a legal clerk in the Supreme Court and went on to serve as Crown Counsel in both Jamaica and Belize. In 2002, following her return to Jamaica, she was appointed as a resident magistrate. From there, she sat in the Civil Court in Kingston and St. Andrew, the Westmoreland Parish Court, and finally, the Western Regional Family Court. Chief Justice Brian Sykes says Judge Gallimore Rose devoted much of her judicial career to matters involving families, children, and some of the most vulnerable members of society.
She understood that the family court is more than a venue for resolving legal disputes. It is often a place where lives are rebuilt, futures are safeguarded, and hope is renewed. She carried out that responsibility with compassion, patience, and with an unwavering dedication to justice. Across her distinguished career, Judge Gallimore Rose embodied the highest standards of judicial service. She carried out her duties with integrity, fairness, and humanity, earning the esteem of all who came before her and all who worked alongside her. Her impact on the judiciary reached well beyond the courtroom. She was a trusted colleague, a skilled judicial officer, and a mentor whose professionalism and quiet leadership helped strengthen our institution.
Brian Sykes, the Chief Justice, Judge Gallimore Rose, is survived by her husband. The judiciary has extended condolences to her family, to members of the legal profession, and to the court staff.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
In Guyana, chairman and members of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry were formally sworn in on Thursday to investigate the circumstances surrounding the tragic capsizing of the MV Barima. The Commission of Inquiry was established by President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali. The five-member commission will be chaired by Justice Godfrey Phillips Smith of Belize, CARICOM High-Level Representative for Law and Criminal Justice, and an ad hoc justice of the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal. The government says the move reflects its commitment to transparency, accountability, and ensuring that such a tragedy is never repeated. The vessel, which capsized on July 18, left over 70 people dead and more than 30 others missing. The captain and one crew member of the ill-fated vessel have since been charged with murder.
Spain is grappling with a fresh migrant surge after hundreds of people crossed into its North African enclave. Many migrants were seen swimming around border barriers or using inflatable devices to reach the territory. Officials say they are working with Morocco to strengthen border security and speed up the return of those who entered illegally. The latest arrivals have raised concerns of a humanitarian and security crisis, with shelters for unaccompanied minors reportedly operating well beyond capacity. The situation has also renewed a debate across Europe over migration and border security.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, Water Minister warns of potential prohibition orders as drought worsens.
As at August 10th, if the situation has not changed, if the Met Service's evaluation of rainfall in July is as we suspect, prohibition orders will come into effect.
Met Service says island continues to see below normal rainfall over the past 2 months.
Industry Minister blames hurricanes and increased fuel prices for widening trade gap.
Data Protection Act unlikely to see full enforcement for another 2 years.
I'm Roby Ann Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and join the Nationwide Family Club at patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. News next, the headlines at 6.
All inclusive flex, yeah. Hard to tell me the cash, yes. Smart TV, PS5, and home upgrade.
Turn up your winnings this summer with Digicel. Sign up or switch to postpaid or Digicel Plus. Buy a SIM. Top up with 5 bills or more. Buy a 7-day plan or higher. A smartphone deal or just pay your bill. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Promotion period June 24 to September 5, 2026. Visit digitaljamaica.com for terms and conditions.
Dreaming about a romantic summer escape without leaving Jamaica? Step away from the everyday and reconnect at Couples Resorts. Enjoy an exclusive couples-only getaway with gourmet dining, premium cocktails, and breathtaking ocean views. Jamaican residents can enjoy an all-inclusive escape from $405 USD per night for travel May 1 through October 31, 2026. Plan your summer staycation today at couples.com/residence. Couples Resorts. Like the first time, every time.
As a taxi man, every mickle make a muckle. The same way, so BCIC Easy Pay stay.
Having 11 months to pay my car and home insurance, little by little, puts me at ease.
Exactly. With my type of business, I have to fret about pay a big money, yet always covered.
Get as much as 11 months to pay your car and home insurance while enjoying 100% coverage with BCIC Easy Pay.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with news on football because the governing body for football in the Caribbean, Central America, and North America, CONCACAF, is the latest confederation to reject a proposal from the global world governing body FIFA to privatize competitions like the FIFA World Cup. In a statement on Thursday following an emergency meeting, CONCACAF said the membership has deep concerns about a lack of due process in FIFA's proposal. FIFA is proposing to sell up to 21% stake in future World Cups and the World Club Football Championship to a private investment firm run by Josh Kushner, who is the brother of Jared Kushner, the husband of Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump. Alric Swaby tells us more.
Josh Kushner is the brother of Jared Kushner, son-in-law to U.S. President Donald Trump. CONCACAF, along with other football confederations, found out about the $4 billion proposal through an expose by the Times of London, after which FIFA issued a statement confirming the report. FIFA said each of its 211 member states have until September 19 to accept the proposal if they wish to benefit from up to $40 million in funding over the next World Cup cycle. CONCACAF, UEFA, Europe's governing body, and the body overseeing Asia all issued initial condemnation of the move. Since then, UEFA has voted to boycott FIFA tournaments if the body goes through with the proposal. In their statement, CONCACAF expressed concerns with governance issues at FIFA surrounding the proposal. During the meeting, the membership expressed deep concerns about the lack of due process surrounding the proposal, the artificially short deadline imposed, and the absence of any review or approval by the relevant FIFA governance bodies. In addition, the need for private equity investment to fund new and existing FIFA forward programs following the most profitable FIFA World Cup in history was questioned. The discussion reinforced the need for greater transparency and proper governance. For these reasons, CONCACAF and its 41 member associations have rejected the proposal. CONCACAF has tasked its council members at FIFA with engaging the governing body to determine how existing FIFA reserves could be used to increase funding for football development across the region. They've also tasked their FIFA council members with instructing the FIFA president to ensure that any matter follows the proper governance processes via staff and the FIFA council, in accordance with the FIFA statutes. Jamaica Football Federation President Michael Ricketts told our news center on Wednesday that from his personal standpoint, he supports the initiative. But he says he has reservation about the genesis of the proposal.
I have not discussed it with my directors, but my personal feeling is that on the face of it, I really don't think that anything is wrong with it. In fact, I think it's workable. But the big problem I'm having is for want of a better word, the non-transparent way which it was done. I mean, we would have spent so much time together with the leadership of FIFA before, during, and after the World Cup. And we were never apprised of these discussions. And this would bring to the fore some level of non-transparency.
That's Alric Swaby, Michael Ricketts, ending that report by Alric Swaby. Some news now from the Commonwealth Games, because Jamaica picked up another gold in a 4-medal haul on day number 8 at the 23rd Commonwealth Games being held in Glasgow, Scotland on Thursday. Samantha Hall won the women's discus title. She threw 61 meters 66 on her 4th attempt, and she beat the Canadian Julia Tonks, who went second with 60 meters and 67. There were silver medals for Megan Simmons in the 100 meters hurdles in 12.41 seconds, and Akeelia Smith in the women's triple jump. She cut the sand with 14 meters 04. Shantae Foreman took bronze, 13 meters 96. Kerrika Hill failed to finish in the 100 meters hurdles final. 6 more Jamaicans made it to finals in track and field events on Thursday. Alana Reid, 22.64. Lavanya Williams, 22.71. And Ashante Moore, 22.49. They finished second in their respective semifinals of the women's 200 meters and will battle for medals on Friday's 9th day. On the men's side, Javon Powell was second in his semifinal in the 200 meters in 20.24. He advanced to the final. Chris Taylor won semifinal 1 in 20.20 seconds. The third Jamaican, Rashawn Clark, he pulled up injured 50 meters into his semifinal. National record holder Navaski Anderson, he booked his spot in the men's 800 meters final after clocking 1 minute 45.38 seconds. He finished 4th in his semifinal. Meanwhile, the national netball team, they're through to the semifinals, and they beat Wales 74-28 in their final Pool B encounter. Jamaica now has 8 medals at the championship, and that's including 4 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze. Minister of Sports Olivia Grange has sought to ease concerns that Jamaica could miss out on co-hosting the 2031 FIFA Women's World Cup finals, assuring the public that the government has already taken significant steps to support the country's bid. United States, Mexico, and Costa Rica are the other co-hosts. Speaking at a post-cabinet media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister on Wednesday, Grange disclosed that Cabinet has approved in principle Jamaica's participation as co-host of the tournament, along with the redevelopment of the National Stadium to meet FIFA's hosting requirements.
So the Cabinet also approved Jamaica's ratification of the FIFA hosting agreement and the establishment of a local organizing committee to plan, manage, and deliver our co-hosting responsibilities. So the delay that was carried in the press about the fact that we had not yet signed the agreement, we have to follow a certain protocol. And so we had to take it to Cabinet and get Cabinet's approval. The funding to support this undertaking is to be provided over the next 3 budget cycles. What this all means is that we can now go ahead and sign the co-hosting agreement, having put the necessary measures in place to ensure that Jamaica will deliver.
Grange also clarified that Jamaica will not be required to make any upfront payment to FIFA as part of the co-hosting arrangement.
To put any money up front to FIFA. We do not have to pay FIFA. What we have to do is make sure we are good hosts and we have things in place in Jamaica to showcase Jamaica to the world. And we also will benefit from the number of visitors who will come to Jamaica, and we will also get a percentage of the take.
Sports Minister Olivia Babsy Grange. If you're joining us for the first time, just to tell you that CONCACAF, like Europe, they've rejected the privatization proposal put forward by football's world governing body, FIFA. They've got September 19 as their deadline to decide whether they're going to go with it or not. And of course, in the Commonwealth Games, Jamaica picked up another gold medal. This time it came in the women's discus, and we now have 4 gold medals. Samantha Hall winning today with 61 meters 66. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back at 6:05 though with our main sportscast. Alric Swaby will be here with that one for you.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:32.
From the vibrant waterfront setting of Ocho Rios Bay Beach to the breathtaking seascape of Laughing Waters, discover exceptional venues for your special events. The temperature by the Urban Development Corporation is
31 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 32 in the western city, Montego Bay.
The Festival and Things edition of the PBCJ Watch Party, Saturday, August 8 at PBCJ, 5 to 9 South Odeon Avenue. Vintage Jamaica Festival videos and performances by four-time festival song winner Roy Rayon. The Nexus Performing Arts Company, Blacka Ellis and Dion Silvera. MC Faye Ellington. Exciting Vendors Village opens at 4:30 with everything Jamaican. Showtime 6 p.m. The Festival and Things edition of the PBCJ Watch Party, sponsored by JCDC, Phase 3 Productions, Heritage Singers, Incognito Vacation Stay, the Office of the Supervisor of Insolvency, and the Office of the Government Trustee. Wear Jamaican colors.
The Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs wishes to advise the public that effective Monday, July 27, the Attorney General's chambers will be relocated to the 4th floor of 1 Belmont, 1 to 3 Belmont Road, Kingston 5, and will accept service of court documents, correspondence, and all other items at that location. The Ministry apologizes for any inconvenience this change may cause and thanks you for your understanding.
Yo, this is the Genius. Telling you that Denby 2026 just leveled up this year. July 31st to August 2nd. Just make sure you forward to the Ray Culture Yard at the Denby Agricultural Show in Maypen, Clarendon. So you know the vibes, we're gonna have some Ray and Nephew cocktails and celebrate the culture all weekend long. Pull up with your crew, play some exciting games and create some new memories. Ray and Nephew, a full with culture, and we'll see you at the Ray Culture Yard at Denby Showground. Must be 18 years or older to enter. Ray Culture Yard.
Every child deserves the best start in life. Early screening helps identify developmental strengths and areas where children aged 4 and 5 years may need additional support. The Ages and Stages Questionnaire, Jamaica, is a simple developmental screening tool designed to support your child's healthy development and school readiness. Remember, the ASQJ is not an examination. The national administration of the ASQJ begins on August 10, 2026. Speak with your child's early childhood institution today to learn more. The ASQJ, because early screening leads to early support.
As a taxi man, every mickle make a muckle. I see him when so BCIC Easy Pay stay.
Having 11 months to pay my car and home insurance, little by little, puts me at ease.
Exactly. With my type of business, I have to fret about pay a big money, yet always covered.
Get as much as 11 months to pay your car and home insurance while enjoying 100% coverage with BCIC Easy Pay.
Get a T-Tag and lock in your toll rates for the next 90 days. Effective Saturday, August 1st, 2026. There will be some changes to the toll rates at the Portmore, Spanish Town, Vineyards, Maypen, Tollgate Mainline, and Tollgate Ramp toll plazas. But with a T-Tag, your rate will remain unchanged until October 31, 2026. Plus, all Class 1 and Class 2 T-Tag customers will get their 10th weekly trip through the same toll plaza free. Visit transjamhighways.com for the upcoming rate changes. Don't pay more at the toll booths. Get your T-Tag today from any manually operated toll booth on Transjam Highways.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Save fast and accepted in more locations.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use Multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multi-link?
Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's Nationwide at 5. I'm yours truly, Said Bernard. Well, in the cover story this afternoon, Water Minister Samuda is sounding the alarm that the country will be experiencing drought conditions until November. He was speaking at a media briefing on Jamaica's drought conditions and the national water supply outlook.
We're going to have a dry August, a dry September, and a dry October. That is unusual and speaks to the climate variability and the impacts that we're experiencing from climate change. Jamaica traditionally has a bimodal rain system, meaning our peak is usually in May, and then the big peak month is towards the end of September going into October. So you have 2 periods of heavy rainfall that tend to recharge your aquifers, recharge your rivers, allow us to build storage and capacity at our NWC and rural water systems managed by parish councils. We would have received that brief and a far more detailed one this morning in the Integrated Water Resources Management Council. And for those who are not familiar with this is a council of cabinet where all stakeholders in the water sector, including academia, municipalities, agriculture, Ministry of Health, Security, are indeed represented. We'd have received very detailed briefs this morning in terms of where we are, which has informed some decisions that we have made. To note, the Drought Management Committee of Jamaica is a subcommittee of this council. Coming from that report and from the forecasts of the Met Service and the assessments of the WRA, it is clear and should be clear to all Jamaicans that conservation is indeed imperative at this stage. Now, we also have to contemplate where we are, not just in the usual rainfall cycle, but where we are in our calendar. In September, schools reopen. Schools are heavy consumers of potable water. As such, we are first encouraging conservation, but being very clear that as at August 10th, and I want members of the media to be very clear on this, as at August 10th, if the situation has not changed, meaning if the Met Service's evaluation of rainfall in July is as we suspect, that we had continued declines in rainfall, and if the forecast for the rolling 3-month forecast has not changed or has worsened, prohibition orders will come into effect. Prohibition orders speak to specifically irrigation and watering of gardens, lawns, grounds, and farms, filling or supplying of pools and other things for domestic services. Washing of cars would be prohibited, watering and washing of roadways, and any purpose that would require unusual or non-essential use of water. Now, it is not that the systems and the storage are at critical levels today, but the rainfall that would normally come at the end of August is not projected to be experienced. And as a country that would have gone through significant learning loss associated with the COVID pandemic, the disruptions of Hurricane Beryl, Tropical Storm Raphael, and Hurricane Melissa, we simply cannot afford water to contribute to learning loss in September. So we will take the measures that we absolutely need to ensure that we're able to safeguard the opening of schools in September and not contribute to learning loss. So that needs to be understood. We do hope that the situation will change, but with the information that we have, this is the best decision that we can make at this stage. Now to note, and I want to go into some details of what we've already done and the next steps in our response. Firstly, 2 weeks ago, the ministry would have allocated $86 million to members of parliament for trucking in their respective constituencies. The trucking would have been split up proportionally based on the data that we would have had related to rainfall in June, so that they would have been split based on who would have had the worst issues. That's step one. Step two, we have recommenced the distribution of black tanks that will be distributed through members of parliament and the SDC into areas of serious water scarcity, and especially in areas where, because of poverty levels, they'll be least likely to be able to afford the trucking of water. So we put the storage into those areas as a critical component. Now to note, yes, the government would have allocated and deployed $86 million thus far to support trucking. But as at August 10th, if the situation prolongs for 3 months, it is estimated that the cost of drought response will be in the range of $500 million. How that is to be allocated if the situation warrants it will be approximately $100 million of trucking monthly. That would be split evenly between the NWC, who would service critical infrastructure including hospitals, health centers, schools, police stations, etc. It would be split between members of parliament managing areas within their constituency that have particular elevation, so may have pressure issues or have other issues in terms of getting water supply to them, and would be supplemented by the parish councils working outside of the utility footprint. We are in preparation to deploy that capital starting on August 10th, if the situation holds as is.
Meanwhile, Minister Samuda says the government will be seeking to construct 30 more loading bays.
There's another step that we'll be taking to significantly improve drought response this year over previous years. And that step is the immediate construction of an additional 30 loading bays in proximity to wells. Some of these wells are held by private individuals, some of them are held by other state agencies, including UDC and Jamaica Bauxite Mining Limited. Now, what this does, and I'll use an area that I'm familiar with, when you have a loading bay in Discovery Bay and a loading bay in St. Anne's Bay, and you have a challenge in Brownstown, the traffic time or the transport time is simply too long, and it reduces the amount of trucking that a trucker can do or a single unit can do into the hills of St. Anne. So you need a loading bay in sections such as that. The same would go for Manchester. If you have to go into central Mandeville to have, or to Gutters to load, the areas in between, the transport time is simply too long. So putting in additional loading bays and increasing the hours, allowing for trucks to be loaded overnight to facilitate early morning deliveries, we believe will significantly reduce the impact. Now, a lot needs to be understood about where we are today. For members of the media, if they go into their archives, they'll note that this is an unusual conversation for this time of the year. Usually we have this conversation sometime between late February and late March, because that is the driest period in Jamaica's usual rainfall pattern. But beyond that, there's been significant work done. And what usually happens after you have this conversation is the first reaction is, Lord, every year. But to note, it's not every year, for the simple reason that we've been able to supply water with far greater regularity and efficiency at the start of the year than we have in previous years. There are two statistics I would like members of the media to consider. One, in 2015, Kingston and St. Andrew and Portmore had non-revenue water, which means line losses of approximately 71%. Kingston and St. Andrew today has line losses or NRW scores of 38%, and Portmore approximately 40%. So we've cut the leaks in half. So that has significantly reduced not just line losses, but water consumption that would have been measured previously. Now, what does that mean? Because the conversation then comes to, well, look at the construction and the development in Kingston. Did we have the water supply that we needed? Well, I'm happy to report that today, Kingston and St. Andrew uses 10 million gallons less per day than it did in 2015 with all the development that you've seen. So by cutting the line losses, we actually require less water in Kingston and St. Andrew to supply demand. The second statistic that I'd like you to consider, especially because the drought is most affecting the eastern parishes, is that in 2022, in February, the driest February we've ever experienced in Kingston and St. Andrew, we only received 17% of our 30-year average rainfall, meaning almost none. So in your driest month, you had even less rainfall than normal. And in that period, we were short 12 million gallons a day between Kingston and St. Andrew and Spanish Town to supply demand. The reason we have pursued the Rio Cobre water treatment plant is because it will supply some 15 million gallons along that corridor. So for instance, the argument that this is an every year thing, I understand the frustration that would lead to that position. But we're in a far stronger position today than we've been in previous years, and we will be, as of May next year, be in a much stronger position than we are today. So what does that mean? It means likely you will have a rough 3-month period now with the expected reduced rainfall. And it is possible you could go through one more drought, beginning February to April of next year, as is normal, where we have challenges. But as of May next year, we are certain that there will be a level of resilience that has never been experienced in our water supply in Kingston, St. Andrew, Portmore, and St. Catherine. We're also doing significant work on critical infrastructure in St. Mary. We're doing significant work on critical infrastructure in Portland, and we have significant upgrades coming in St. Thomas. Now, that is absolutely critical because the cost of trucking in these areas far exceeds the cost of trucking in your urban centers. So some of the areas that will be most affected are those who are least able to deal with it. And that is why we have been very careful and deliberate about outlining a plan that should we have to allocate and spend that $500 million, we are in a position to do so, and we have a careful rollout strategy associated with same. Ladies and gentlemen, we're investing at an unprecedented rate, and that investment is specifically to reduce the number of times that I have to address you on these matters and to ensure that indeed we are a far more water resilient nation tomorrow than we are today.
That's Matthew Samuda, the Minister of Water. We go for a break, and we'll have more when we return.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household, and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is
32 degrees in Kingston, also 32 at West in Montego Bay.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere, spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multilink?
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining is inviting you to run, come join in. Don't have them be whole heap of things in store for you and your friends. In the Ministry Village, come see the future of agriculture on display. In the Ministry Village, plants from public gardens on sale all day. In the Ministry Village, food and exhibits, games and fun for every age. In the Ministry Village, July 31 to August 2, don't have them be stage.
Demby 72, growing forward, cultivating a path to a better Jamaica.
9 minutes going up to 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for staying with us. We're still on the cover story, and we are talking about water, or the lack thereof. The Minister of Water, Minister Samuda, he says the Hermitage Dam in St. Andrew will also be rebuilt and expanded. He toured the facility with the CEO of NARA, National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, Major General Anthony Anderson, on Wednesday.
The Hermitage Dam is a 99-year-old facility. It was built with a 50-year engineering guarantee. It was built for a city and parish that had a much smaller population than it currently does. It was built at a time where climate change was not yet a reality, or certainly this pace of climate change was not a reality. There is no possibility of guaranteeing stable water supply in Kingston and St. Andrew without Hermitage, based on the hydrological flow of rivers in and around the parish. So that means the government has to make what you call a nation-building investment in rebuilding and expanding the Hermitage Dam. That has an initial assessment of a $250 million US dollar price tag. That project will be guided through NARA, which is why we took Ambassador Anderson to the facility to get him to understand exactly what was in place and what was the current situation there. And that is a project that we expect to get underway early next year. Engineering and initial engineering assessments have already been done. We're actively developing the project, and that will be a project that the ministry will work on with NARA to build water resilience for Kingston and St. Andrew. Now, to note, there are 3 major capital works projects that are already underway in Jamaica. 1, the Rio Cobre Water Treatment Plant, $92 million US. 2, Phase 1 of the Western Resilience Water Program, $170 million US, which will see pipelines run from Martha Brae all the way to Negril. That project has started and is in the construction phase. And anyone who is driving along the road in Mobay or certainly Lucy should see activity taking place. And 3, we have completed the engineering phase and the land acquisition phase associated with the Pedro Plains irrigation system, which will see some $200 million US spent over the next 3 years in building water resilience for the farmers in St. Elizabeth. Now, those are big numbers. But 3 years ago, myself and then Minister Nigel Clark, prior to his departure, engaged the World Bank water sector experts. And we had them come do a study in Jamaica to see really what was required for us to supply ourselves in a resilient and efficient manner on the potable water side and on the irrigation side. We also had them take a look of what was required for us to protect our water resources and our nearshore environment with appropriate wastewater management. The assessment was that Jamaica needs to invest $5 billion US. So though this year the government is investing $15 billion from the consolidated fund, you should be very clear that we still need to invest at a far greater rate. It is why investments like the Hermitage Dam and others have to happen very quickly. Because for us to catch up on what we absolutely need to do, we don't have a lot of time, as the rate of climate change is indeed going to continue to affect us.
That's Matthew Samuda, the Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change. In the meantime, the National Water Commission's acting Corporate Public Relations Manager, Delano Williams, says 73 of the Commission's systems are being impacted by drought conditions.
The reality is there are a number of water supply systems that serve you that we are now concerned about. The NWC provides water to over 550,000 customers using an average of, say, 4 persons per household, which is what a customer represents for us. That's just about 2.2 million persons on the island. From those, out of that, we actually utilize just about 450 sources. And I want you to follow me now. So 450 sources, 2/3 of those are what you call surface sources, rivers or springs. Peter Clark would have spoken to the fact that a number of those sources now are actually showing signs of decline, especially in the parishes of St. Mary and Portland, some sections of St. Anne, and also what we call East Rural, West Rural, KSA, all right? Now, we've narrowed down even further, just about 133 of that systems, which are historically prone to drought or water supply decline. A lot of them, as I said, are what you call surface sources. And so on screen, it's really a subset of that. We are now looking at 73 in particular, spread across the island, which are already showing decline ranging from 20% drops to some as much as 80% drops. All right? Over time, we will publish on our channel and through our various communique the details of those, because the supply times and the adjustment will vary per system. But as you can see, KSAT, which includes Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas, represent 35 of the Eastern Division for us. St. Catherine, primarily North St. Catherine, and also North Clarendon are the areas that we are seeing some drought having an impact on our sources. And then the northeast belt, over a dozen for Portland, over a dozen of those systems for St. Mary, and a smaller number for St. Anne is where we are also seeing. While there is some drying in the weather conditions for our western side, we're actually not yet seeing a significant decline with our sources. So St. James, Trelawney, perhaps primarily in South St. James and also South Trelawney is where there may be some decline at this point. But our sources have been holding up to a large extent. I want to, as we go though, just narrow down on one or two of the major systems that you will readily ask me about. I want to pinpoint for you the Mona system, and as at today, you're seeing 62%. And to give you some context of what has been happening over the last 3 years, 2025, Mona was at this very day at 39.3. And the year before, in terms of 2024, it was reflecting 81.8. That on account of perhaps the May-June rains, which came true to form at that time. But for this year, we've not necessarily seen that. The Hermitage on the right of screen shows you again, a similar presentation from 2024, 98%, in 2025, 45%, and this year, pretty much almost along the same trend, 47.4. We have started regulations, which means restricted water supply or what you call scheduled water supply on the Constant Spring network since July 3rd, and you will also note that the Mona restrictions are slated to commence this coming Monday, August 3rd, which will mean for a lot of the persons, customers, locations from Ligani all the way down to Mountain View, sections of New Kingston, Crossroads, Vineyard Town, you can expect to see a general supply time between 6 a.m. each day and 6 p.m.
That is the Deputy Corporate Communications Manager of the National Water Commission. Well, that's where we're going to leave it for the cover story. Up next, we have the headlines.
Cover Story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
A minute after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. Prohibition orders could take effect across the island if drought conditions do not improve by August 10 this year. That's the word from Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change, Matthew Samuda.
As at August 10th, if the situation has not changed, meaning if the Met Service's evaluation of rainfall in July is as we suspect, that we had continued declines in rainfall, and if the forecast for the rolling 3-month forecast has not changed or has worsened, prohibition orders will come into effect. Prohibition orders speak to specifically irrigation and watering of gardens, lawns, grounds, and farms, filling or supplying of pools and other things for domestic services. Washing of cars would be prohibited, watering and washing of roadways, and any purpose that would require unusual or non-essential use of water.
The minister says these orders are an effort to conserve water ahead of the upcoming school term. He adds the government could be facing an estimated $500 million in drought mitigation costs if the dry conditions continue in the coming months.
As at August 10th, if the situation prolongs for 3 months, it is estimated that the cost of drought response will be in the range of $500 million. How that is to be allocated if the situation warrants it will be approximately $100 million of trucking monthly. That would be split evenly between the NWC, who would service critical infrastructure including hospitals, health centers, schools, police stations, etc. It would be split between members of parliament managing areas within their constituency that have particular elevations, so may have pressure issues or have other issues in terms of getting water supply to them, and would be supplemented by the parish councils working outside of the utility footprint. We are in preparation to deploy that capital starting on August 10th if the situation holds as is.
That's Matthew Samuda, Water Minister. Majority of Jamaica's 14 parishes have experienced below normal rainfall over the past 2 months. Principal Director at the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, Evan Thompson, gave the update at a media briefing on Thursday.
At the end of that period, we recognized that we had 10 of our 13 parishes. I'm saying 13 because Kingston and St. Andrew is considered one parish in this respect, and they all received rainfall in varying degrees during the month of June. 10 of 13 actually were experiencing below normal rainfall. So the month of June, more of the rainfall amounts were seen toward the eastern end of the island, parts of Portland and getting into northern parts of St. Thomas, and that is in comparison to what we see on our general mean rainfall image, where it's lots more yellows and oranges that we would normally experience at this time of the year.
Thompson noted that at least 4 parishes are currently experiencing drought conditions.
The drought conditions are being experienced in just 4 of our parishes so far, and this is at the end of June, I must remind you. St. Elizabeth, St. James, St. Anne, and St. Mary were the parishes that were determined to be experiencing drought conditions. Manchester and St. Catherine were both basically on the borderline in that they were just about moving toward drought conditions. So it's most likely that having not experienced significant rainfall during the month of July, that situation would have been worse.
Evan Thompson, Principal Director at the Met Service of Jamaica. State Minister in the Local Government Ministry, Delroy Williams, has dismissed a recent claim by Kingston Mayor Andrew Swaby regarding expenses inherited from his time at the helm of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. Williams says the mayor's statements are an attempt to shift attention away from the leaked voice notes in which 2 members of the People's National Party are heard plotting to sabotage the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority and besmirch its CEO.
They're trying to hide from what came out in the leak voice note messages about the PNP using operatives in the public service to hinder, to prevent programs and projects beneficial to the people of this country, to prevent those programs from being implemented in a timely and proper manner, an efficient manner. That's the issue that they are hiding from.
Williams, the former mayor of Kingston, says Mayor Swaby needs to take responsibility and lead the municipality. He adds that Mayor Swaby should also tell the public that he inherited approximately $239 million in property rate financing revenue generated during his tenure. Additionally, Williams says Mayor Swaby inherited approximately $56 million under the special grant for repairs. He is challenging the mayor to identify any expenditure that fell outside the corporation's normal operations.
In the normal operations of municipal corporations, expenses are incurred. They don't stop because you're transitioning from one mayor to the next. So when a new mayor takes office, it's natural. There are expenses that are going to be there to be addressed because expenses in municipalities don't stop because you have an election. They don't stop because you're transitioning to a new mayor. Now, what you must say to us is, are you challenging the expenses? Did we create expenses that were not part of the normal operations of the municipal corporations?
Delroy Williams, a state minister in the Ministry of Local Government. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smykel. Sports is next.
School expenses adding up? Get ready for school with Chris and Charles. From July 9 to August 31, enjoy a low interest rate on loans of $1.5 and $2 million. Plus, get 25% off the processing fee on loans of $1 million Jamaican dollars and above. You could also qualify for one of 50 ready for school grants worth 60,000 Jamaican dollars each. Visit your nearest Chris and Charles branch or www.chrisandcharles.com for details. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles. Conditions apply.
Dreaming about a romantic summer escape without leaving Jamaica? Step away from the everyday and reconnect at Couples Resorts. Enjoy an exclusive couples-only getaway with gourmet dining, premium cocktails, and breathtaking ocean views. Jamaican residents can enjoy an all-inclusive escape from $405 per night for travel May 1 through October 31, 2026. Plan your summer staycation today at couples.com/residence. Couples Resorts. Like the first time, every time.
Top up online instead. I beg you top up online instead. Don't bother hold up the lane and waste people time. Beg you top up online instead. Download the My T-Tag app and have fun to your T-Tag. Anytime, anywhere, any amount I can spare. Just top up online instead. Tell us work hard for you. Nobody give them more work for you. Don't hold up them time. Just top up online. Beg you top up online instead. Get 10 trip in the tag and free. I saw you have money for dash way. No join the manual line. Top up online. Beg you top up online instead. If the mighty tag up it a hurt up your head. Top up with WhatsApp instead. Send a one text 3553336. Beg you top up.
Good evening with your sports report. I'm Alvix Raby. Now, the governing body for football in the Caribbean, Central America, and North America, CONCACAF, is the latest confederation to reject a proposal from the global governing body to privatize competitions like the World Cup. In a statement on Thursday, following an emergency meeting, CONCACAF said the membership has deep concerns about a lack of due process in FIFA's proposal. FIFA is proposing to sell up to 21% stake in future World Cups and Club World Cup to a private investment run by Josh Kushner. Josh Kushner is the brother of Jared Kushner, son-in-law to U.S. President Donald Trump. CONCACAF, along with other football confederations, found out about the $4 billion proposal through an expose by the Times of London, after which FIFA issued a statement confirming the report. FIFA said each of its 211 member states have until September 19 to accept the proposal if they wish to benefit from up to $40 million in funding over the next World Cup cycle. CONCACAF, UEFA, Europe's governing body, and the body overseeing Asia all issued initial condemnation of the move. Since then, UEFA has voted to boycott FIFA tournaments if the body goes through with the proposal. In their statement, CONCACAF expressed concerns with governance issues at FIFA surrounding the proposal. During the meeting, the membership expressed deep concerns about the lack of due process surrounding the proposal, the artificially short deadline imposed, and the absence of any review or approval by the relevant FIFA governance bodies. In addition, the need for private equity investment to fund new and existing FIFA forward programs following the most profitable FIFA World Cup in history was questioned. The discussion reinforced the need for greater transparency and proper governance. For these reasons, CONCACAF and its 41 member associations have rejected the proposal. CONCACAF has tasked its council members at FIFA with engaging the governing body to determine how existing FIFA reserves could be used to increase funding for football development across the region. They've also tasked their FIFA council members with instructing the FIFA president to ensure that any matter follows the proper governance processes via staff and the FIFA council, in accordance with the FIFA statutes. And continuing with the football, as Minister of Sports Oliver Grains has sought to ease concerns that Jamaica could miss out on co-hosting the 2031 FIFA Women's World Cup, assuring the public that the government has already taken significant steps to support the country's bid. United States, Mexico and Costa Rica are the other co-hosts. Speaking at a post-cabinet media press briefing at the office of the Prime Minister on Wednesday, Grains disclosed that Cabinet has approved, in principle, Jamaica's participation as co-host of the tournament, along with the redevelopment of the National Stadium to meet FIFA's hosting requirements.
So the Cabinet also approved Jamaica's ratification of the FIFA hosting agreement and the establishment of a local organizing committee to plan, manage, and deliver our co-hosting responsibilities. So the delay that was carried in the press about the fact that we had not yet signed the agreement, we have to follow a certain protocol. And so we had to take it to Cabinet and get Cabinet's approval. The funding to support this undertaking is to be provided over the next 3 budget cycles. What this all means is that we can now go ahead and sign the co-hosting agreement, having put the necessary measures in place to ensure that Jamaica will deliver.
Grains also clarified that Jamaica will not be required to make any upfront payment to FIFA as part of the co-hosting arrangement.
Put any money up front to FIFA. We do not have to pay FIFA. What we have to do is make sure we are good hosts and we have things in place in Jamaica to showcase Jamaica to the world. And we also will benefit from the number of visitors who will come to Jamaica, and we will also get a percentage of the take.
Oliver Grains, Minister of Sports. And continuing with football, as head coach of Mount Pleasant Academy, Theodore Whitmore, says his team is preparing for a difficult encounter when they face SV Robin Hood of Suriname in the semifinals of the CFU Club Shield on Friday at the Arthur Bowling Stadium in Trinidad and Tobago, starting at 12:30 p.m. Jamaica time. It's a high-stake game with the winner not only advancing to Sunday's final, but a ticket to the CONCACAF Club Championships.
Looking forward to the challenge. We're up against a very good, experienced team, a team that is familiar with this competition, good ball playing team, but we would have seen them, would have enough in our locker room to counter whatever they come with tomorrow.
The Centre-based club heads into the contest with confidence after edging Robin Hood 1-0 the last time the two sides met. Whitmore believes that previous meeting has provided his team with a useful insight into their opponents, but stressed that they are expecting a much tougher challenge this time around. Whitmore said the players fully understand the significance of the match and what is at stake.
There's a lot we could have improved on and need to improve on this game. It's a total different opponent than the one we played. The good thing is that we would have gotten a game under our belt, so we in much better physical condition, game ready condition, so we are up for the task.
Theodore Whitmore. Now, Jamaica picked up another gold in a 4-medal haul on day 8 at the 23rd Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland on Thursday. Wayne Walker tells us more.
Samantha Hall won the women's discus title. She threw 61 meters 66 on her 4th attempt, and she beat the Canadian Julia Tonks into second with 60 meters and 67. There were silver medals for Megan Simmons in the 100 meters hurdles in 12.41 seconds, and Akeelia Smith in the women's triple jump. She cut the sand with 14 meters 04. Shantae Foreman took bronze. 13 meters 96. Kerrika Hill failed to finish in the 100 meters hurdles final. 6 more Jamaicans made it to finals in track and field events on Thursday. Alana Reid 22.64, Lavania Williams 22.71, and Ashante Moore 22.49. They finished second in their respective semifinals of the women's 200 meters and would battle for medals on Friday's 9th day. On the men's side, Javon Powell was second in his semifinal in the 200 meters in 20.24. before he advanced to the final, Chris Taylor won semi-final 1 in 20.20 seconds. The third Jamaican, Rashawn Clark, he pulled up injured 50 meters into his semi-final. National record holder Navaski Anderson, he booked his spot in the men's 800 meters final after clocking 1 minute 45.38 seconds. He finished fourth in his semi-final. Meanwhile, the national netball team, they're through to the semi-finals and they beat Wales 74-28 in their final Pool B encounter.
Very impressed with the performance tonight. I believe that this was a much better effort from the girls. We had 2 ugly wins, but it's still a win, so we're grateful for that. But I think today we really worked hard in terms of being disciplined through court, really working hard on minimizing our turnovers, and I think we executed well on that. And it was just a great team effort from everybody, and it was just good to see just the tactics that we had implemented, how well the girls played that type of game tonight for 60 minutes. So all in all, the team did very well, and we really wanted to ensure that we made it through to the road to the semifinals. And for that, we're truly grateful.
Jamaica now has 8 medals at the championship, and that's including 4 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze.
Thank you, Wayne. And finally, in cricket, West Indies Test captain Ruston Chase thinks the high-performance training camps prior to the first test against Pakistan had a lot to do with the outstanding performance at the Brian Lara Stadium. West Indies won the test match by 90 runs, and Chase believes the togetherness and camaraderie from the camp filtered over into the performance.
At a camp as well, and I think that really helped us to really become closer as a unit and also to work on our weaknesses and to improve our strengths as well. So I think that this is the upliftment of that.
Recent performances, including the series win over Sri Lanka, have moved the West Indies in the upward direction in the ICC World Test Championship standings. Chase says it's important the West Indies perform well and pick up points against teams closest to them in the standings.
I think these 2 teams that we've played, Sri Lanka and Pakistan, they're closer to us in the rankings. I think they're opposition that I don't want to say that we think we should beat, but I think it's a more even contest between us and them as well. So I just think that the guys are confident and going out there. Over the last few months, we've been putting in some extra hard work.
Ruston Chase, I'm Alex Raby, and that's your sports.
We a big deal when we touch the ground. Yeah, I can't see when we're pulling up. Anything for the taste what we love. Barbecue, spicy and original, flavorful, crispy, irresistible. 3 piece with the fries and a Pepsi. Go get your one big deal, stop stress me. All when we dip on the toilet, no left foot. Anything for the taste of a juicy, crunchy, irresistible KFC big deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries and Pepsi. KFC, it's finger licking good. Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere, spend while supporting the economy.
Look for the Multilink logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network.
Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multilink?
The Jamaica Agricultural Society, in association with Hypro, presents the Hypro Denby Gospel Extravaganza 2026. Come out for some soul-stirring gospel music on Sunday, August 2, 6 p.m. on the Denby Showground, Maypen, Clarendon. We're closing the curtains on Denby 72 with performances by Kevin Downswell, John Mark Wigan, Prince Sarge, Jodian Pantry, and many more. Admission, adults 1,500, children 600 at the gate. Get your heart redeemed at the Hypro Denby Gospel Extravaganza, Sunday, August 2. Come and be blessed.
The following is a paid broadcast of Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness's address at the official naming ceremony of the Paul Bogle Highway in Morant Bay, St. Thomas on Thursday.
Thank you, Madam Master of Ceremonies, for your skillful handling of the ceremony so far. Allow me to acknowledge Ministers Robert Montague and Robert Morgan, both ministers in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and other members I keep saying job creation, but it is the Ministry of Infrastructure Development. That's what it is now. Now, allow me to acknowledge other members of the cabinet who may be here. The Speaker of the House, the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, who is here in her capacity as an adjoining Member of Parliament. Your Member of Parliament, Mr. James Robertson, for St. Thomas Western, and your Member of Parliament, Miss Yvonne Rose Shaw, for St. Thomas Eastern. Our Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Arlene Williams, who has worked very hard on this project. His Worship the Mayor, Louis Chin, Mr. E.G. Hunter, and representatives of the National Works Agency, stakeholders, members of the public and private sector who are here, and of course, our pastor who prayed for us earlier, and our saxophonist who played for us, and the band that played for us as well. I greet you all. I also acknowledge China Harbour and all the other contractors who worked on the road. Today, we gather to join Jamaica's history to Jamaica's future by designing and designating this section of the Southern Coastal Highway as the Paul Bogle Highway. We honor one of the greatest sons of St. Thomas and reaffirm that national development must always be rooted in our history. The name of the Right Excellent Paul Bogle carries profound meaning for the Jamaican people. It speaks of courage in the face of injustice, leadership in the service to the poor, and a willingness to make the ultimate sacrifice for human dignity. Paul Bogle saw the hardship experienced by the people of St. Thomas. He understood their exclusion from political power, their limited access to justice, and the weight of poverty upon their lives. He did not turn away. He organized, he petitioned, he led, and he stood for his people. The events of 1865 forced the colonial authorities to confront conditions they had ignored for far too long. Paul Bogle's leadership brought national attention to the urgent need for reform and helped to change the course of history in Jamaica. As Prime Minister, I'm a student of Paul Bogle. I study it as if I had an exam to sit. 1865 is a critical turning point in the history of Jamaica. There is a reason why St. Thomas was called the Forgotten Parish. And the reason was that because this was the place of rebellion, that there was an attempt to divert resources and attention from the parish. That was 161 years ago. That's about 5 generations. It may seem like a long time, but in the grand scheme of our history, it is not. And the scars of that history are still seen and felt today. But our history is not always a reflection of our future. We can use our history as a motivating factor for a better future. And that is one of the messages that I want to leave with all who are gathered here today. Our history as a people is one of struggle. Hard struggle. And in many ways, the struggle continues. In a few days, we will mark emancipation, 1834. The end of slavery. But I want you to think, cast your mind back if you can, and imagine what it was like for your forebears. Been given their freedom, but given no land on which to live that they could claim as their own. There was compensation paid to planters who lost free labor, but those who were enslaved were not compensated for the centuries of free labor given. There were promises of schools that would be built. And indeed, there were some trusts set up, and some churches were given endowments, and there were some schools set up, but not enough to prepare persons who were enslaved in poverty and illiteracy, to prepare them now to be free men who will work and trade their skills. There was no consideration for the newly freed for their health care. There was no consideration as to how they would access justice. There was no provision made to create an economy at the end of slavery. Indeed, the thinking of the time was that the people who benefited from slavery would continue a plantation economy. Why educate the newly freed men and women? Why give them access to justice? Why give them access to employment? No. You want to keep them poor and keep them illiterate so that they have to come back to the plantation. That was the thinking. And so those who left the plantation and decided, regardless of what the circumstances are, I am going to try and make life for myself in free villages, occupying lands as farmers without any rights to the land. So between emancipation and 1865, I want you to just imagine how difficult the conditions of existence of our forebears would be. That condition would boil when people who were occupying lands and farming and making a living, the planters would say, what? you are able to survive outside of the plantation? No. We're going to find a way to take you off the land. And that is why up to today, land is such a sensitive issue in Jamaica. A point that I well understand. When people went to get justice, having been dispossessed of their land, and you go to the court, you expect that there would be some understanding of the situation that would yield justice. But the dispensation of justice was in favor of the planters. So you couldn't get any justice from the courts. If you got into a conflict with a planter or a landowner, who is there to adjudicate? And so all of these created a tension that boiled over. And within this tension emerged a deacon, a pastor, a man of God, who was peacefully leading his people, bringing petitions along with George William Gordon, who was also protesting the conditions. Paul Bogle led a march on Morant Bay. It created a confrontation which spilled into what we call the rebellion. Estates were burnt, private houses were burnt, private property destroyed. The buildings, the public buildings in the square were also destroyed. There was a standoff with the local militia and those of our forebears who decided that we will not take this any longer. It was quickly put down within a matter of days. Over 400 Jamaicans were killed. It is oftentimes compared with a massacre. Many were put before a summary military court, summarily tried, and executed, hung. Many were whipped. George William Gordon was put before a military court. He was not known to have participated in the actual rebellion in the sense of leading a rebellion or the use of any violence. But he was tried in a military court and summarily executed as well. I believe that would have been the 23rd of October. The following day, on the 24th, Paul Bogle was also executed. This part of Jamaican history, it is not so much featured as a critical part of the formation of the Jamaican state. We tend to think of the Jamaican state as beginning more at independence in 1962. But the journey to 1962 actually started in 1865. That's the struggle. It is in many ways an unresolved struggle in the minds of the Jamaican people. Because we still see ourselves as being unfairly deprived of something for which we must rebel in order to achieve justice. In the building of a nation, we acknowledge, indeed we embrace, and we place it in the context of how we had to fight to get to where we are. But as we seek to build a nation, the nation also has to be built on how we unite as a people in a common struggle. Not to divide ourselves and fight ourselves and reject order and law, but how we can build an order and a law that is fair and equitable and considerate of all Jamaicans. So as we reflect on our history of struggle, we must see a new vision of the Jamaica that we are creating. A Jamaica that is fair. A Jamaica that is just. A Jamaica that gives opportunity for all Jamaicans. A Jamaica that is forward-looking. A Jamaica that is prospecting. A Jamaica that is pro-growth. A Jamaica that is just, innovative, creative. A Jamaica that is prosperous. That is what we want to do. It is said that the road to development, the prosperity, the justice, the fairness, the road to that begins with a road. To get to that, you have to build a road. The road to development begins with a road. And the important part of development, my friends, is the issue of connectivity. You build roads to connect people. But more than that, you build roads to connect opportunities, to bring resources, to materialize an opportunity. And one of the features of this notion that St. Thomas was a forgotten parish was always the inaccessibility of the parish due to the condition of the road. So when the opportunity presented itself, the thought first and foremost was that we would build a toll road. We thought long and hard about it. That was the original thought, that we would build a toll road, we would abandon this alignment, we would go in the hills, and we would go around the communities, and it would take us quite quickly into Port Antonio. That was the notion. On second thought, we decided that development must not bypass the people. Development must bring the people in. And the people being brought in, they too will contribute to the process of development. And so we decided that, yes, we will make a 4-lane highway from Harborview, starting from Harborview, and then the rest of it, we will focus on improving and making some changes to the existing alignment of this road. That would go through communities that were for so long ignored. Now, that decision, though it was a well-meaning decision, meant that the road work lasted much longer than we had anticipated. Because it is an absolutely difficult task, as I'm looking now at E.G. Hunter and his team from the NWA, to build a road while you're driving on it. To build a road while you live right in front of it. It was a decision that I still stand by today, but I do believe that I should offer an apology to the citizens who suffered a great deal of discomfort during the construction of the road. And I ask you to pardon the progress. So, without question, the road has given a new sense of development to the people of St. Thomas. But one road does not development make. And as fantastic as this road is, when you turn off some of the roads, the people are still saying, I don't see the development past my yard yet. So they won't even say thank you, Prime Minister, for the road. They're not business with that anymore. When is the road passing my house? I've been in it long enough now to understand that that is how the Jamaican electorate is. But that is just how electorates are all over the world. What have you done for me lately? So as I stand here, I take a very short bow for the road and gloat only for a minute that we were able to do it. But my presentation also has to say what is next. Why? Because the struggle continues. Every Jamaican should appreciate, in me as your Prime Minister, I believe in struggle. I understand struggle. I am not afraid of struggle. We will continue to fight for our development. So I say, whether you are JLP in orientation or PNP in orientation, we all believe in one thing, that our country must develop. And it is not development for some and nothing for others. This road passes all the communities, whether they are JLP or PNP, everybody must benefit from the road. And as we stand here to honor our national hero, it is not the Jamaica Labour Party honoring Paul Bogle. It's not the PNP honoring Paul Bogle. It is the people of Jamaica as one. As one. Because the struggle is common, regardless of what your political opinion is. The struggle is common. We are still struggling to provide water to every household here in St. Thomas. We are still struggling to bring proper roads to every community here. We are still struggling to improve the quality of education for all the children here. We are still struggling with the quality of your health care. We are still struggling. But we never give up the fight. Like Paul Bogle, we keep the fight. We keep the fight. Because, you know, how we as a people organize to manage our development is important. You know what else happened in 1865? In 1865, the American Revolution came to an end, the Civil War. Slavery was abolished in the US. I believe that same year, President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. So you look at the American Civil War, the end of it, and where their economy and their country has moved, and you look at our country with our conflict and our struggle and where we are. We have to say we could have achieved much more than we have, though we have achieved quite a bit. What we must commit to doing now is to be more efficient and more productive as a people. We must make the right decisions about the use of our resources. That's what we must commit to doing. And I always believe that the right decision in the use of resources is to build infrastructure. If it is one thing that you can say about the American society or any society that is developed, coming out of conflict, they invested in infrastructure. Coming out of our conflict in 1865, there were some changes made as to how Jamaica managed its development. Before 1865, Jamaica was a self-governing colony. It had its own parliament, its own legislature. Because of the rebellion, and it did create quite a stir in the colonial power in the United Kingdom, they decided that they would vote to end their own legislative authority. And Jamaica became a crown colony, a colony managed directly by the United Kingdom. So we essentially, as a country, though most of the population wasn't a part of the power of the country, decided that our affairs must be administered elsewhere. It was not until 1944 that we reclaimed most of our constitutional self-government. And then finally in 1962 to become independent. Out of 1865, we changed the way in which we administered the country. We had over 20 plus parishes, my recollection. After that, we redistrict the country into 14 parishes. That's how we have 14 parishes today. And as I speak on that, the country has grown since 161 years ago. And it needs redistricting in how the local government is managed. Out of 1865 came a professional constabulary force, the JCF. The JCF that you have now is as a result of what happened in 1865. The court system was improved. As a result of that, the colonial government also decided to spend on infrastructure in the country. And between 1865, well into the 1950s, most of what we call the infrastructure today, that is when it was built. For example, the Flat Bridge, the Hermitage Dam, the canal that runs along the Rio Cobre and watering the plains of St. Catherine, the Spanish Town Hospital, the University Hospital, all of those were built out under the colonial era. If we claim to be an independent people, we must build our own infrastructure, and we mustn't be afraid to build our own infrastructure. We must build. And that is what this administration has been doing for the past 10 years. Building infrastructure. Infrastructure makes life better. It gives greater convenience. It creates more opportunities. But more than that, it creates, if it is well built, greater resilience, the ability to withstand and recover from shocks. This road that we celebrate here and we name in honor of our national hero will improve the lives of the people of this parish. You know, everybody who takes the bus to work and gets there 30 minutes earlier experiences a saving of resources, whether it is petrol, time, convenience, increased productivity. Everybody who decides to travel on this road and stop at Roselle or all the other little stops that I'm seeing, all the shops get more custom. But the development is going to be even more, because now St. Thomas is a place where people are making a conscious decision. You know what? The piece of land that I have there, some people might say, you know what? Let me sell it so somebody can develop the land. Or some might say, I'll keep it and develop the land. But as I stand here, I know of more than 5,000 houses, much more than that, that are in the pipeline along the roadway. I know of plans to build a new port for St. Thomas. And I tell you, I speak as if it is outside of the actions of the government. The government is planning to build a port in St. Thomas, and it's not just a plan. We are well advanced in doing that. It will be an aggregate port, but it will also be for cruise shipping, because we are going to bring tourism to this corridor in a significant way. We are well advanced with a plan to put a museum. Yes, a museum in Morant Bay to properly document and house the artifacts and to tell the story of Jamaica, so that every child can jump on one of the lovely school buses that we have put in place, make it a prescribed trip for them to come to the Morant Bay Museum to see how the Jamaican struggle started and where we are in that journey. We have plans for other major developments in this area, including the creation of what is called an eco drive. What people speak of mostly when they drive on the road is not how smooth it is and the quality of the road. They are stunned by the beauty they see, the lovely vistas of the road next to the beautiful Caribbean Sea. And as you drive through, you see pictures of an unspoiled Jamaica, peaceful, rural and rustic. There is great value in that. And so we're going to develop that route with proper streetscaping, trees, proper stops for public sanitation, proper stops for vendors, develop beaches along the way. People can just jump in their car or drive along, pull off the road safely with proper amenities and parking, and enjoy the beauty of their country. Tourists can come and do the same. And so we are going to develop this eco corridor, and it will cross from St. Thomas through Portland. We notice that as we have this lovely road, there are persons who are constructing. They are putting up fences and they are doing all kinds of things. I ask you to consider carefully what you put up alongside the road. Don't make it look chaka-chaka and ugly. Start to think about how you dispose of your garbage, your waste, your refuse. Don't just throw it on the road so it ends up on the verges. Start to take some pride in your community. You might live in a hovel, but it doesn't have to be a dump. Help us with the improvement of this streetscape. So you will hear more about the Eco Drive project. So it can't be said anymore that St. Thomas paid the price for the Morant Bay Rebellion. Today we repay St. Thomas. Today history comes full circle as we name this road in honor of our national hero, Paul Bogle. The road is 31.5 kilometers, starting from the Bull River Bridge to the roundabout where we are at Morant Bay. This is the section that we will name the Paul Bogle Highway. We are now contemplating the remaining section to the border of Portland as to how we should name it. Clearly, William Gordon, George William Gordon, would have some claim on that road. But like everything else we do, we consult. We have to talk to the people. So we'll hear. We'll talk and we'll consult and we will hear what's your opinion on naming the road. You know, Minister Montague, I hear him whisper under his voice, tacky. I don't know. But, or LG Newland. But options are there. And we will consult with you, the people, to help guide us as to how we designate and name the road. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say that the minister without responsibility in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development has asked me to announce that the Jamaica Road Register, that will go live at 1 p.m. today, and that is jamaicaroadregister.gov.jm, and the roads in Kingston and in St. Catherine will be listed there. So you can go on that website and see the status of your road, which would be your road, when it is scheduled to be repaired, which program it is on. And it will be interactive. You will be able to upload information from your community about the road, so that gives us feedback so we begin to understand. This is part of a larger mission to take control of our roads and to make our roads a place of pride and dignity that are indeed roads to development. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a great pleasure to address you. I hope that you have received some understanding as to why we are doing this and your part in this long journey of development. God bless you and thank you.
That was a paid broadcast of Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness's address at the official naming ceremony of the Paul Bogle Highway in Morant Bay, St. Thomas on Thursday.
That's all the time we have to spend with you this evening. But of course, join us again tomorrow, 5 o'clock for Nationwide at 5, where we go through the top stories of the day once more. Until next time, I'm Saeed Bernard, yours truly. Walk good, take care. See you then.